Colorado Springs is not for everybody, but it's for me. Is it for you?
It's for me.
And it could be for you, or it might not be. In this magical bag that is, generally speaking, way oversized for what we're doing, we've got the 5 best pros, probably, and cons that you haven't heard anywhere else because everyone else just uses ChatGPT to come up with theirs. But we actually thought through this and talked to people that moved here that hated it. We've gone through our YouTube comments, people that talk about things that they love, things that they hate, whatever. So,
and we're gonna tell you what we also don't like about it too.
Yeah, for sure.
We're gonna be honest.
Yeah, and we're gonna do this. It's gonna be kind of shotgun style, where we just reach in the bag. You don't know if you're pulling out a pro or a con, and we're gonna see how this goes. So your job is to figure out by the end of this video if there's any that we missed, and or if Colorado Springs is for you. Because truthfully, I think the cons they're kind of weak.
Yeah,
truthfully, but
a little bit.
Let's hit them. Hit them with the first one, Sam. I'll let you go first. Oh.
All right. Let's see. Purple people eaters. Like the 70s Vikings defense?
Yep. Okay, next. Yeah.
It's a con, people.
Yeah.
It's a con. They're here. Kyle, what is the purple people eaters?
Well, even though Sam drew out purple people eaters, purple, I don't know why I wrote it like that, but I think this is actually a pro of Colorado Springs, especially in 2023, where it seems like the entirety of the United States is like extremely politically charged. And we're not going to talk political preferences here.
I see where you're going.
Yeah, but Colorado Springs, in my opinion, I've lived all over the place, it's really this just kind of mildly purple place.
Yeah.
You know, and the reason that it's like that politically is because there's 5 military bases here, but there's also Denver right up the street. And so I
got a ton of people from all over the country moving in.
Yeah. And so it really feels like it's not overwhelming either direction.
Yeah.
Or like either. Now, if you were to ask like a staunch conservative, they'd be like, oh my gosh, it's so liberal. And if you were to ask a staunch liberal, they'd be like, oh my God, it's too conservative.
Extremes.
But we're kind of like getting rid of the extremes in this conversation and just talking about, generally speaking, it's a pretty fluid and flexible, you know, accepting place.
It's pretty laid back is how I would put it.
Yeah.
Like, it's just laid back. It's not that those things aren't important or like people don't talk about those things here or whatever the case may be, but it doesn't feel like there's just a ton of pressure surrounding all of that. And
yeah.
It feels like there's a really good mix of all different types of people and, you know, types of thinkers and things like that.
Well, but what's interesting is like, you leave Colorado Springs and you immediately feel a differance. I mean, you go to Manitou and you feel an immediate difference.
Yeah.
You go to Denver, you feel an immediate difference. So, and this is, and we won't even go into this, but like, I think when it became the most prevalent, it is so bright out here. Good grief.
I'm squinting a lot.
I know, I'm really thinking about putting sunglasses on. Anywho.
Wish I had mine still.
When, I think that like when it really became prevalent about like, how a city is or is not was honestly during COVID.
Yeah.
And during just the policies, the general policies that you would see, it like in Colorado Springs again, it was like pretty
chill.
Do what you want.
Laid back.
Yeah. Like there were some places that required masks, for example, and some places that didn't, and some people that did and some people that didn't. Whereas if you went to Manitou, it was like, oh, you're existing? You better have a mask on. So it's just an example.
Yeah.
I think that it's a pro of Colorado Springs because it helps me just like not get like super spun up about it all.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And again, like I think because of how laid back and chill and like purple it is, if you will, like, I don't know. I think there's a great mix and a great diversity here that makes it a great place to live.
Yep.
Yeah.
Ready for number 2? Let's go.
Number 2.
All right. We've got 5th most active city in the U.S. Another pro.
That's another pro.
It is another pro. I love this about Colorado Springs. Is like I can't count how many times I've been on the incline or in one of our open spaces or like out and about in Colorado, like hiking or skiing or whatever, and like some 75-year-old blows by me. I mean,
or up the incline, and that same 75-year-old is on their second run up
of the day, and they're still passing you.
Yeah,
it's so crazy. And I think the gist of this one, obviously, it's a pro for a lot of reasons, but especially as people get older, because like there's so much to do. There's open spaces, there's hiking, there's biking, there's rafting, there's rock climbing. And it's like, it's all just so accessible.
It is. It's everywhere. And let's not forget, I mean, we're talking about the fit old folks. Let's not forget the 6-year-olds that'll pass you on the incline too.
Gosh.
That are just like nuts.
And when they're on rock walls and they're just like scurrying to the top, and you're like, holding on for dear life.
Like it's not that people here are like, oh, I want to be so fit. Like it's just part of the culture and the city to be like, I want to be outside doing something all the time.
When I first moved here, and I still do this, but when I first moved here, we used to kind of like joke around and say like you had to earn your spot in Colorado Springs or in Colorado. And so it was kind of this idea that it was like, you better be taking advantage of the opportunities that are here. I think that stemmed from moving from a place where there was literally nothing to do.
No.
So 5th most active city in the US, definitely a pro. And yeah, what I was saying about like earning your spot in Colorado, it was kind of this like, when you were like feeling lazy, it was like, oh, I said I was gonna go hike, or I said I was gonna go do whatever, and then you're like, I'm feeling lazy. But we would always like double tap that in our brains, like, I gotta earn my spot here. If I'm gonna live here, I'm gonna take full advantage of it. Also because it's expensive and I want my money's worth.
And also, it's just fun.
Yeah.
It's fun. There's so much to do here.
Hit number 3.
Numero tres. Let's see.
Oh my gosh.
Ooh, the food and entertainment scene. Kyle, is this a pro or a con?
You tell me. You drew it.
I'm going to say it's a con right now.
It is.
I'm going to say it's a con right now. It's getting better. I will say that. It is getting better every single day, every single year. But like in the past, Colorado Springs has been known for just having a ton of chain restaurants and not a lot of, entertainment other than the movie theater or something like that. It's getting much, much better now that we have more locally owned, and I guess honestly kind of like creative and innovative, like small businesses, restaurants. We're getting a new amphitheater up north. Tell us a little bit about that, Gila.
It's gonna be, so I actually can't remember where it is.
Interquest-ish.
Okay, that's right. So they're building this new amphitheater. It's gonna seat like 8,000 people, which is awesome. So if you've ever been to Red Rocks Amphitheater, you know how powerful it is to be like in an outdoor space listening to beautiful music. Will this place rival Red Rocks? Absolutely not. Nothing on earth ever will, because
I won't say in terms of size or like stature.
I think in grandeur, that's what I'm thinking of, because it's like, because Red Rocks, there's something about when you're in the stadium there. But
it's classic, historic, iconic.
But this amphitheater is going to be super awesome, and it's a big move to be able to bring bigger talent here.
It's going to be kind of bougie, honestly.
Yeah, it is. It is.
Like, there's going to be a bunch of restaurants and like 5-star restaurants.
Oh, really?
And like,
I didn't know that.
Like some nice stuff, some setups where you can like the ticket you purchase can be around like fire pits, like your own like personal fire pits and stuff. It's going to face some mountains.
Yep.
So you're going to get the sunset like during, opening acts and concerts and things like that. It's going to be beautiful.
That's going to be awesome. Yeah. And so I think like you said it perfectly, where it was just a lot of chains. And truthfully, it's actually my least favorite thing about like the north end of town. When you get up to like Northgate and Briargate area, it's like all chains, right? When you get up like near Shields, so on Interquest, you have Shields, and then it's like just, I always get clients that like come in and, they're visiting, and it's like their first time in Colorado Springs, and we're out looking for houses or whatever. And they're staying up there, and they're like, where should we go eat? And I'm like, I don't know, what chain do you want to eat at? Like, even sit down, it's all chains.
Yeah.
And it's kind of annoying. However, when you come downtown, really, like there are a lot more smaller, locally owned businesses, and a couple places that have like been successful enough to open up multiple restaurants. Like Dos Santos has Dos. They now have Sushi Row. So like the downtown area of Colorado Springs is definitely getting better. My prediction, well, if you lived here like 10 years ago, I promise you Colorado Springs is not the same city.
No.
For better or for worse, I think it's for better personally. But I think in 5 to 7 more years, this place is going to be really culturally, entertainment, food scene is going to be a really amazing spot.
I would.
It'll never be San Francisco food.
No.
It'll never be like New York style, like,
No.
you know, where you just have like the most diverse and incredible food on the planet. But like I judge a place based off of like the Thai food that I can get or like the Nepalese food. It's like those random ones. And it's like here it's just generally okay.
Yeah. Right now. Generally okay.
About 5 to 7 years.
I judge place off Mexican food. I'm going to be honest.
Okay, that's fair.
You know, and I do love the Mexican food here.
That's fair. We got a lot of good taco trucks too.
Yep.
All right. Beautiful and inspiring landscape. Yeah, this one I really like. Actually, Sam brought this one up because everybody always talks about, I mean, obviously it's Colorado and it's beautiful. Side note, right? Like when you're in Colorado Springs, it's much closer to the mountains. There's more open space here than up in Denver, for example.
Yeah.
Doesn't really matter where you live. There are parks and open spaces near you everywhere.
There's more opportunity for views, even if you're not, especially if you're not super close to the mountains here. Because honestly, you're higher up out east.
Yep.
You get some amazing views, but.
Yeah, I live like totally on the east side of town. Yeah. And even still, I loved when you said it because it's like some mornings you just like wake up and you're like, you go outside your truck and you turn and you look at like my street like points straight down to Pikes Peak, even though it's super far away. And I'm just like, wow, Pikes Peak is looking like a snack right now.
It's insane. Do you have any west facing windows?
No.
In my old house, our bedroom window faced directly at Pikes Peak. So I just throw the curtains in the morning open, like at sunrise. The mountain would go from purple to pink to like, you know, it's daytime.
Dude, especially in the evening,
pretty, dude.
In the evening in the summer when the sun starts setting behind Pikes Peak and it comes much further south. Oh my gosh, the sunsets that we get. And so it's funny because as the #1 relocation specialist in the city, what's up? It's funny, like when we're looking on the MLS and we're helping people look for homes, it is funny how many houses say like Pikes Peak views of the Front Range. And you're like, okay. And then you get there and there's like, if you stand on your tippy toes, pull yourself over into the top recesses of the window, you can like see Pikes Peak.
Yeah.
I feel like that happens all the time.
It happens a lot.
But we just had a client go under contract and the house is really beautiful. Like it's a really nice house.
Yeah.
But the views from this house, oh my heavens to Betsy. It's so like,
that's a new one.
Just the whole mountain range. It looks over like that. It's kind of like on a hill. So the houses in front of it are like below it. It's actually in our old Colorado City neighborhood tour.
Okay.
You can see video of it, but it is like,
I'm sorry. I'm still laughing about, oh my heavens to Betsy.
Heavens to Betsy. You never heard that?
No.
Well,
I have.
You heard it here.
I heard it here first.
Yeah, so it really is like beautiful and inspiring. And like, I think it also lends to, because you're so close, like the activation energy is so much easier to get through. Yeah. And so like that it lends itself to being the 5th most active city in the country.
And it doesn't get old. It does not get old. I've lived here almost 20 years now. I don't get bored with that view. No. I really don't. But on to the next. It's a B city. What does that mean? A B city? It's easiest to explain this way. Here in our state, Denver would be an A city. Colorado Springs would be the B city, right? It's not the main actor, it's kind of the supporting actor, if you will, right? Colorado Springs is for sure a B city, and I consider this one a pro.
Yep.
I do.
Not everybody does.
Yeah.
So you can make your own decision on that. But to me, it's a pro.
And like, you might not consider that a pro because, you know, we don't have all the major sports teams, all the major entertainment like Red Rocks or, you know, Ball Arena or whatever the case may be. All the ridiculous amenities. We don't have all that, but we have everything that we need right here and more. Listen, you give me a Costco, I'm set. I'm set, bro.
100%.
You know,
We have two.
We have two, and 2 Sam's Clubs. But I don't shop at Sam's Clubs. That's dumb. We have everything that we need here, and like you said, we're closer to the mountains. The outdoors feels a little bit more accessible. The traffic patterns are, even though they're frustrating right now with all the construction, they're much better than Denver.
Well, that's
it's easier to get places.
To me, that's the B city thing, right?
Yeah.
Is that like you have Denver within an hour or less, depending on where you live here, but you don't have like, yeah, we complain about traffic, but up in Denver, infinitely worse. Roads, so infinitely worse.
Once you hit University, if you hit University at the wrong time going north, it's over with. Yeah,
basically anything that you would generally associate with the negative of the city, traffic, congestion, smog, homelessness, all that stuff, like it's worse in the A city. It's always going to be worse in the A city.
Yeah.
People complain about Colorado Springs growing a little bit too much, which we'll hit some interesting information on that in just a little bit.
Yeah.
But it's not like Denver.
No.
And it won't ever be, which is awesome.
Yeah. For the most part.
I love B cities because, like, again, you have the access and you get the benefits. It's not like we're out in the middle of nowhere.
Yeah.
Because there are, I wouldn't even consider them B cities. At that point, I'd call them C cities, where it's like, even if it was this size, but not within striking distance of the A city, it's like Lubbock, Texas was like that. Yeah. It's a big city, but it's not even close to Dallas.
Yeah.
And so for that reason, I'm out, right? But anywho, so B city is a major pro to me.
Yeah. Let's get the next one.
Bing bong, bonk bonk. I don't even know where these are. Okay, here we go. All right, we got a few more in here. We have.
You guys got to stick around.
Well, this is on point. Growth outpacing infrastructure.
Yeah.
AKA Colorado Springs is getting a little too big for its britches.
Yeah.
But, that's why they make elastic waistbands. Yeah. So Colorado Springs is continuing to grow at a pace of about 1 to 1.6% per year. But that number gets larger and larger as we get bigger and bigger.
It's a compounding number.
Yeah, it's ooh, that was a nice way to say it.
Thank you.
And so just what you experience here, the reason this is a con is because Colorado Springs has kind of outgrown itself a little bit. And the city is really trying to keep pace. But because of that, good night. Yeah. There is it feels like there's construction everywhere.
Everywhere.
And not just construction, but taking it down to one lane or congestion. It causes so much congestion.
The traffic patterns and traffic efficiency get ruined by it.
Really, really bad. And it's kind of annoying. And so I feel like a lot of the major roads like Powers, Academy seem to always have this kind of traffic too.
Yeah.
And it's just goodness gracious. It's also a con because we see this a lot in the YouTube comments, is that people that have lived here for a long time, they're feeling that growth. Yeah. They're feeling that overwhelming pressure.
They notice it the most.
Yep. They definitely notice it the most. And they're like, oh, stop coming here. There's no room left, and I'm like,
There actually is. And everybody wants to be here for the same reason that you're staying here.
Yeah.
Right? It's the beauty and the B city factor and all that stuff. And right now it's frustrating because it's growing pains and we got to figure that out as a city. But in the meantime, while we're figuring out, it can be kind of frustrating.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure.
Ooh. This is an interesting one. I want you to weigh in on this because you do this way more than me. But proximity to the ski resorts.
Yeah, it's interesting because, like, again, this is relative because where I was living prior to this on the east side of New Mexico, ski resorts were like 8 hours away.
Ugh.
Yeah, right. So, however, I did have some friends mention this to me. That sentence felt weird. I had some friends mention this to me as something that they did not like about Colorado Springs, and one of the reasons that they left. They were from Utah and they moved back to Utah. The ski resort, so they were actually living in Monument. And from Monument, you know, it's like 20 minutes down to Manitou. And most people just don't realize that to get to the ski resorts, they're not on the front range. No. You have to go in.
Yeah.
And so it's likely about a 2.5 hour drive to get there. So it just makes day trips, gosh, they can be pretty freaking exhausting.
You're driving 5 hours after you ski for at least 7 or 8 if you're trying to get a full day in, which means you're leaving at 4:30.
And that's just to go to like Breckenridge. If you push past Breckenridge and you go to Vail, like, or Beaver Creek, like that, you're pushing 3 to 3 hours and 15 minutes.
Monarch.
Yeah, and we do day trips all the time because it's also really freaking expensive to stay in a lot of those places.
Yeah.
And they hurt, but they're worth it.
Oh yeah.
But it's definitely,
it's a freaking day.
Yeah, I think if you compare it to like Utah, like if you're living in Provo or Salt Lake, I mean, you can get to most of the ski resorts in an hour or less.
Yeah.
I mean, unless you're like living in Provo and you're driving all the way up to Park City, then it might take a little bit longer. But, you know, a lot of them have a ski resort, like I said, within 30 to 45 minutes.
Yeah.
So
I'd agree. Even though it's like, woe is me, I got to drive 2.5 hours to go to gorgeous ski country.
Yeah.
I get that perspective, but like 2.5 hours each way, if you don't hit a bad traffic jam somewhere.
Yep. That
makes for a long day.
Oh yeah, and that's a kicker because the likelihood of hitting a traffic jam is pretty high.
Yep.
Unfortunately,
it's called I-70 things. If you want to see what it looks like,
it's so atrocious.
It's atrocious.
It's so atrocious. I-70 goes from Denver out towards Breckenridge and Vail and all those places, and it's like probably the worst highway in America. Like if not,
at least that stretch of it.
Pretty dang close. Yeah, it's pretty awful. So, anywho, I guess that's a con. It's
I'm gonna call it a con.
It is for sure, I guess. But
you got this.
Hello. What do we got here? Affordability, or your ability to afford.
Controversial.
Okay, so going back to this, it's. I like that this came up later. This is definitely a con, and it's becoming a con. But LOL, it kind of depends on where you're moving from.
Right. Used to be a pro for sure.
Yeah, it did definitely used to be a pro. So affordability is an interesting one because it's one that we see a lot, and I like that it came up later in the pro con list. We're going to classify it as a con. Because we see it, people complain about it a lot, and we get this in the YouTube.
And rightfully so.
No, for sure. Yeah. People in the YouTube comments complain that, like, you know, they've lived here for 20, 30 years or their whole lives or whatever, and like they're just watching the prices of everything like steadily increase. Yeah. And by steadily, I mean the housing market dramatically increased over the last couple of years.
We mean exponentially in 3 years.
And there's no sign of it slowing down.
No, not really. I mean, the pace of the increase has slowed down a little bit.
Yeah.
But I don't really see affordability getting any better with mortgage rates where they're at, where they're likely to continue to remain. And on top of that, like, our inventory continues to dictate that we have short supply and we continue to have high demand, and that always drives prices up no matter what.
Well, and based off of like the 5 pros, like we had a hard time coming up with cons, really. Yeah. And like, it's like people not only want to move here, but they want to stay here once they have moved here, right? Yeah. And because of that, it's like supply and demand, not just in the housing market. I mean, in everything. The cost of everything continues to increase. Yeah. Another thing that a lot of people, gas, that's what I was going to mention. Something that a lot of people don't consider is that like, Colorado in its own version is like right in the center of the country. And so shipping things to Colorado is a little bit pricier. And we don't have like a ton of oil refineries like
Because
Texas.
those truckers got to drive I-70 and they hate
And they hate it. And so they're like, if I'm driving I-70, I'm charging more.
Yeah.
Is what I feel like.
Yeah.
So gas costs more. It's not the most expensive place in the world. I mean, obviously, if you go up to Denver, it's going to be even worse.
Yeah.
But people used to see Colorado Springs as kind of like this little haven that wasn't that expensive, and it was still a B city.
Yeah.
And now it's like, you know, when your median home price is like $450,000 plus or minus.
I mean,
that
you
gets
used to
tough.
get like 450, 500,000. That used to get you
Sanctuary Point.
a heck of a house out.
3 years ago, you could buy a house in Sanctuary Point for like $500,000.
Yeah. Yeah. And you cannot get in there
Maybe
for
with a discount.
less than 7 figures, really?
Yeah.
Yeah. Affordability, big issue. I've got the last one. Drum roll, please. I don't have the last one. I have the second to last. I lied. Thanks for the drum roll, though.
You're welcome.
There's not a lot of water here. That's a definite con.
Oh, yeah.
It's a definite con.
Well, not personally, I don't really care, but
Sure, yeah. I mean, for me, like, coming up, like, I spent half of my childhood, like, on or around a beach, and you, like, kind of get used to that. All the recreation that comes with that, all the fishing, all that stuff. And it's not to say you can't recreate here and you can't fish here. It's not like there's no water at all. But it's just not in abundance. And the other point I want to make about it too is that as our city continues to grow, as the Front Range in general continues to grow, water becomes more and more of a scarce resource every year.
yeah, that's true. To me, the not a lot of water, like obviously we've got the Colorado River and we've got the Los Animas and we've got, you know, the Arkansas and whatever. Like is the Los Animas here? Yeah. That's like out by Durango. Yeah. So like there's rivers.
Rivers
I think when we were talking about this, what we were really talking about, great song.
Yeah.
What we were really talking about is the lakes. There's not like a lot of lakes. And so people that want to like go boating and wakeboard and, you know, do all that type of stuff. There's like small lakes here. And like when
what we call lakes here,
most
people from the Midwest and maybe even eastern states would call them a pond.
Yeah. I mean, even Utah's got the Great Salt Lake. It's got, which I don't know what people do in there, but like Utah Lake, Lake Powell, like monstrous lakes like that, where it's like, oh, you're going like boating for a week.
Yeah.
It's like you have Palmer Lake.
Yeah.
Monument Lake.
Your best lake within a pretty close striking distance of Colorado Springs is going to be Lake Pueblo.
Yeah. Yeah.
And because of that, like it's like maybe like a 7-mile long lake or something like that, which in the grand scheme of lakes is not a very big lake at all. And it tends to get overcrowded on weekends and like, you know, you're sharing the water with a lot of different types. If you're going there to fish, like there's going to be people there that are going there to recreate. Like, you know, it's not the same. And even Grand Lake, even Blue Mesa, which is the largest lake in the state, isn't that big compared to some of these other lakes. So, there's just not a lot of big water out here.
Yep. All right. Last one.
I wanted that bag.
I don't know what this says. I like this one. Centrally located in Colorado. So what do we mean here? Which is, okay, it's going to sound a little contradictory. I am sweating right now.
You are juicing. You're like an orange getting squeezed.
That's what it feels like. I just feel like every part of my body is so hot right now.
It's hot out.
And it's only
It's like
like,
the first
it's only like
hot day of the
78 degrees outside.
It's like the first hot day of the year.
It's probably wearing a black shirt, sitting in this thing baking.
Yeah.
Anywho, centrally located in Colorado. So we were just complaining about how it's like a long way to the ski resorts, I guess. But what I really like about Colorado Springs is because it is literally physically centrally located, like almost dead nuts in the center, is you also have easier access to everything in the southwest part of the state, which is awesome.
Yeah.
So much cool stuff. Pagosa Springs, Wolf Creek, South Fork, heading all the way out to Durango. Telluride's still far as hell. But but you then can also just as easily get up to Denver and Rocky Mountain National Park and out.
That's what I was going to say. Like it's less of a compromise between one or the other because I can be in Steamboat Springs in 5 hours. I can be in Durango in 5.5 hours.
Yep.
Like
But from Denver,
just kind of perfect.
getting to Durango
is 8 hours.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
Even though it's only an hour north of us, it's just like you have to go through everything to get down there, or if you want to avoid it, like you have to go on the other side of the mountains, which takes a long time. It's just,
Yeah, so I find that to be like a real huge pro.
Yeah.
And again, you know, going back to the affordability thing, so do a lot of people. They really find their ability to recreate and to enjoy the state and to be super active. It's so good.
It's pretty hard to beat. And like, you know, again, being centrally located, like we're only an hour 20 from DIA, from the international airport here, but we have our own like pretty good sized airport hub here. I don't know. To me, Colorado Springs is like a perfect balance.
Yep. No, it's so great. And so if you have made it through this video and you feel like the pros outweigh the cons, or the cons are so pathetic that you kind of agree with us that we kind of had to scrounge for those, we are the #1 relocation team in the state, specifically here in Colorado Springs. Definitely holla at your boys. Our phone number, our contact information is down below. Otherwise, we're going to just go enjoy the rest of our time here in Colorado. We'd love to see you. Talk to you guys later.